Hello everyone, this is Mandy with Messy Designed Life. I am so glad you're here today and you're joining me. Today we are going to talk about trends, and we are going to talk about how trends can be used for good or evil and how we figure out how to be aware of them, utilize them, understand them in a way that's constructive rather than exclusive. So I want to just start out by saying when I was in middle school, my association with trends goes back to middle school. And as I was thinking about it, I'm remembering this girl that I was in school with. Her name was Amy, and she had the most perfectly feathered bangs that you can imagine. If you lived in the late 80s in middle school, you'll remember this style where you're feathering them over to the side and you're hairspraying them within an inch of their life and your hair doesn't move at all. And that there was this girl, Amy, and I swear it's like she had a hairstylist to come in every morning and just do this perfectly feathered hair thing every single day. And mine just always were sort of wonky and not symmetrical. Well, they were supposed to be asymmetrical, I guess, but they were just off and awkward, and maybe by the end of the day all droopy. And Amy's were just so perfect. And not only that, but she had these Guess jeans that I just coveted. I was like, can I, like, Mom, please Guess jeans? And I, inevitably ended up with Maurice's jeans over and over again, which are not the same. They don't have this like very chic stonewashing in just the right way that the Guess jeans had, right? And of course, Amy had those jeans. So I think a lot of times we have this inner association, an inner assumption about the word and the term and the concept of a trend that goes back to those childhood moments where we didn't feel like we fit into them, most of us. I know Amy, she's probably out there. I don't know. Really, if you asked Amy, she'd probably tell you she didn't fit into the trends either, because I think we always feel like we're on the outside of them, which is another reason why they can seem so exclusive and in some ways like controlling and limiting, like you have to stay in the trend. So what I want to do today is look at those associations. I want to understand that trends they don't have to be about being cool or being on the in crowd. There's so much more to learn from them about ourselves, about who we are, about what we want and what we need and what we're craving. And that's where the juicy part happens, is when we can start looking past our previous associations with the term and we can look at what it has to offer us, just like we did with aging last week in the podcast. I want to say also that I do think I am not saying that it's not a valid experience that we've all had with trends, feeling left out. I do feel that it is the most limiting way to understand trends and have them be incorporated into our life, is just as a way to mark cool and to fit in. Taking a step back, so often I get this question from clients as we are working on their spaces, especially kitchens. How do we do this? How do we make decisions in this space that won't look dated in a few years? What are the trends? How do we find the trends that will still be around in 10 to 20 years? And my answer is, in most ways, you can't. In most ways, you have to pay attention to what it is you want to live with and be forward looking and aware of the trends, and also know that there isn't one that lasts forever. Maybe white marble countertops, although marble, not a trend right now, even though, as we've talked in previous episodes of the podcast, I have marble countertops. But even white countertops, it's a trend that goes out. So we're looking for, as I'm talking with clients, we're looking to understand where the trends come from, what they actually are trying to tell us, what they mean, why we like them. Because if we can understand our motivations behind them, then we can understand what is likely to last longer. And also combining them with the house, right? Then there's a different motivation. There's a more rooted motivation rather than, well, everybody's doing white this year, so we're going to do white. As we've discussed in previous episodes as well, there's a notable difference between outwardly motivated discussions and the opposite, which is intrinsic or internally motivated decisions and situations. So how do we understand trends in a way that allows for intrinsic sourcing of what we like. If you look up trend in the etymology dictionary, the root of the word, right? I think I've probably said this, but I like to go back to the etymology because I think so often we use words as like a placeholder and we assume we know what they mean. And we can learn so much more if we're accurate about what the word is trying to say, where the root of it comes from, because society has been using these words with this root. It's still in there, even if we're not aware of it. The associations come through society that if we can make those associations that we have conscious, then we can be aware of how it's affecting us when we use the word, when we try to interact with the term. So the etymology of trend is to run or bend in a certain direction, to roll over or about. Even in the definition, even in the etymology, there is this nature of cycles, of cyclical kind of motion and rotation within trend. And that is something that is very important to understand as we're talking about trends, because trends are not this well, maybe they're a hamster wheel because that's round, but they're not this thing that we're chasing all of the time. They don't have to be. What they are is a response to what has come before. They are rolling over or about. They're rolling about themselves. What did we have 5 years ago? Right now we're reacting to 5 years ago, and this is what we like right now. And we will get into specifics. But all trends are us having common input, responding and desiring similar outputs, which of course works within a spectrum, and similar meaning similar in groups, not in a society as a whole. What I think is valuable to insert into this conversation about trends is this word and this term of zeitgeist. Zeitgeist is a German term that literally means time spirit. That's the two parts of the word in German. Is Zeit is time and Geist is spirit. And zeitgeist is this concept that there's an overarching societal focus, perspective at any given time. And so you can actually look up words that are in the zeitgeist. There's a dictionary online, or there was last time I looked, it's been a minute. And they can show what people are Googling, what people are interested in, words that are getting more popular or less popular, which we can learn a lot from. Using our awareness of the root of the word trend and the definition of the word zeitgeist, I have a quote that I wanted to read. This all goes to show that the impact of design trends extends beyond aesthetics. It embodies innovation and a forward-thinking approach. It's a testament to a brand's willingness to evolve and remain dynamic in a competitive landscape. Now that is from an article called The Significance of Keeping Up with Design Trends, and I will link that in the notes. They are specifically talking about design trends, and I think specifically they're talking about branding and digital trends, how we're doing our websites and all of that. But it applies to our homes, it applies to our clothing, it applies to so many parts of our lives as far as trends can interact with us. It really is about being forward thinking and innovative, and it's not just about aesthetics, okay? We're gonna get into, it's actually about something much, much deeper. So trends are so useful in understanding tendencies, currents, inclinations of society as a whole. They are a curve formed by, like, imagine a curve on a graph that's formed by a whole bunch of data points, and the curve that those data points makes, in this case, let's say a lot of people reacting similarly to input trend in society around us. So imagine that graph, see those data points. Each of those data points is what people are wanting right now, what they're craving, what they're responding to, what they're engaging with. Those are trends. And so if we look at that graph, the trend is the curve. It's not the dots, the data point. It's not the cool kids. It's the curve of what we are all wanting and responding to. Seeing the trend, being aware of where that curve is, being aware of what is trendy, does not mean that you have to listen to it or abide by it. Thankfully, Thankfully, we are not in high school anymore. And all of the cool kids know now that the coolest thing is to be yourself instead of just doing things to fit in. Because in being yourself, you actually get to take a look at trends, at what's coming, at what's available, and understand more deeply what it is that you want in your life. Because so often, trends are used or referred to as the end point of a discussion. We say, this is X and Y are the trends, so just make it look like that. That's what I want my house to look like because I want to be trendy. Or I'm just going to wear this trendy outfit because I want to be on trend. And the real juicy part in examining trends is to understand what it is that they're reflecting about what we really want. No one wants their house to look like a trend. What we really want is the underlying feeling that the trend gives us. We want the lifestyle that we think goes along with that vibe. We want to incorporate the feelings that those visuals give to us. They mean something to us. The trend, we're responding to the trend because we think that we will get something out of it. A feeling, an experience, a sense of identity. All of these things are coming out of trends. So if we can actually look at the feeling, the experience, the identity, etc. that we want to have, trends can no longer control us in the same way. They can just be indicators to help us find our way. Also, keep in mind that trends are not linear. We don't move through a trend and then move on. We move through it, get what we need from it, then we move on to something different and end up needing that thing back again later because we got enough of it now. Once we get more of something else, we're going to need the thing. I'm saying that very abstractly. If I can't eat a lot of sugar. I don't think I've mentioned this. I get very sleepy. I start to fall asleep. It's like narcolepsy. I have a lot of energy for about 17 minutes and then I actually literally need to take a nap if I have too much sugar. So for me, the way of balancing that is water and protein. So if I get some sugar and I can tell that my body levels are going up, are starting to rise, then I will go and counter that by eating some lunch meat or eating something else with a lot of protein, lentils, or I will make sure, and probably in addition to the protein, I will make sure that I am getting a really good amount of water. And that's my balance, where I had a lot of input of sugar and I need to go balance that with input of protein and water. This is what we do with trends. We get a lot of input of Modern Farmhouse and all of a sudden we've all had it with Modern Farmhouse and we want something different because as humans, we like variety. Now, that's not to say that if you still love Modern Farmhouse, you should be changing your mind about that. If you haven't gotten enough of what Modern Farmhouse is giving you, continue to get it. What I'm saying is trends, the reason they change is because we are reacting to the fact that we had a trend, got a whole lot of it, like my sugar content intake, and then we had too much of it, potentially, or enough of it, and needed to move on to something different, like drinking water. Because trends are in reaction to what is around us, they are not arbitrary. They are reactionary to what is going on around us, and they're showing what we're craving more of or what we really need less of. So let me tell you a little story. The large paint companies, Sherwin-Williams, Benjamin Moore, they release a paint color of the year every December. What they're doing is looking ahead. They're actually queuing off of Pantone Color Institute, which is a company, an international company that's gauging trends and translating those into colors that are reflective of what we want and who we will be as an identity, as a large population worldwide, who we will be as an identity for the next year to come. And they release these actually years in advance with so much research. There is so much research that goes into this. Responsive research, where they go out into the world, they take photos, they interact with people, they see what people are wanting, what they're talking about, where's the buzz. They're figuring out what's going on in society, and they're coming back and forecasting what we're going to want as a reaction to what we have now. So the major paint companies, Sherwin-Williams, Benjamin Moore, have a paint color of the year that is in their line, so that you can say, oh, paint color of the year is this, that's on trend, I'm doing pretty well, people will like this if I paint it, and I'm moving and selling my house, right? Like, it's just trying to get the overarching trends that are happening. 2016 Both Sherwin-Williams and Benjamin Moore chose shades of white for their 2016 color. So it would have been released December 2015. In 2016, the color of that year was a shade of white coming from both Sherwin-Williams and Benjamin Moore. Now, little story, I was having a conversation with my partner. We were skiing, we were on the ski lift. And I mentioned this, I said, oh, I think this is really interesting. And they both chose white. And my partner said, I think that's a cop-out. Like, they're just trying to not be wrong about the color. And what are they going to say? Like, it's white. Who doesn't like white? And what I said was that, ironically, we're surrounded by white snow. And we're talking about how white is the trend. And what I'm feeling while surrounded by this white snow and this pristine beauty that's happening around me in the mountains is, I think what people want is some calm, some quiet. I think the reason that white worked as a trend in 2016 is that people were just over the noise. This little handheld device that we all carry around has enough noise already. And by the time we're done clearing the stinking notifications off of our phone, we don't have any more mental capacity to want to look at a blue paint color on the wall. We just want some white because the phone is too much enough, whatever, already. It's like done. So we just wanted something more simple. And I believe that that was us reacting to the noise, physical, metaphorical, visual, all of it, the noise that was pervasive in that time, that we were craving less noise, more calm, more simplicity. And the white colors, especially that minimalist layered texture of white that the design trends then started to show, made room for less noise, less to-do lists, while still giving comfort. So that, to me, is a very clear example of how the trends show us what it is that we are desiring. What's beautiful about this is that we're all existing within this collective society together. We're all receiving and experiencing similar input, similar day-to-day rhythms and whatnot. Now, there are wide variations within what I'm calling similar. Please understand, I'm talking very meta and then also like groupings. We'll see later, we're going to talk about what the trends are right now. And there are two very contradictory trends that are happening right now. And that's because we're not all in the same place. Because with the same input, we may have different desires. Because we don't always have exactly the same input. Still, we are in a shared society. And things that are happening in the world politically and I don't know, weather-wise, internet, like we're sharing all of these collective inputs. So as much as there is variation, there is collective similar input that we are all taking in and wanting something in reaction to that thing. Right now there's a trend in design called Grand Millennial. And what this looks like is 1 part maximalist, 1 part environmentally aware and friendly, and 4 parts your grandma's old basement. And what I think this tells us, if we really want to inspect this trend and understand what it's telling us, what are we craving? I think the maximalism says that we're bored of the mass-produced cookie cutter. I think a lot of us are bored with white on white on white on white. We want personality. We want uniqueness and individuality. We're tired of worrying about holding back. We're tired of worrying about being refined and cool, being in the cool crowd with the cool kids who have all the white Instagram posts lined up. What we want is self-expression. So maximalism is at its core about self-expression and interest and uniqueness. And there's another element there that is releasing some control. Willingly, right? So with maximalism, there are patterns and textures and layering that comes together that are, you can't quite control it. There's a level of chaos in maximalism that I think we're craving. We came out of COVID. We were overwhelmed. We were tired. We needed simplicity. Now we've had enough simplicity and we just want something interesting. So the environmentally friendly part of it is that there's reusing and there's efficiency of materials, where the go-to is not just to buy new stuff all the time. Maybe we reuse what we had in another space. Maybe we're getting it from other people, right? Maybe I'm selling what I had before on Facebook Marketplace and I'm buying something new on Facebook Marketplace. Win-win for everybody, including Mother Earth. Hooray, right? So the grandma's basement part of this look, this gathered look that has, sometimes doilies and crocheted blankets, what do we call Afghan blankets, and all of this lovely, lovely nostalgia gear, is that I think, to me, this tells us that collectively we are wanting more connection to something that's bigger than us. We want connection to the past. We want to feel rooted in something that came before. We want heritage. We want collecting and roots. We want roots and history that we get to interact with by having these things in our spaces. That floral sofa, there's a soul to that doesn't happen if they just went and bought that sofa at IKEA. There is nothing wrong with buying sofas at IKEA, but it is not going to have the same feeling of connectedness, rootedness, heritage that you're going to get from a 60s floral sofa that somebody owned, lived with, loved, and experienced their life around, right? So having that sofa in your space now connects you to that heritage of what came before. And I think we're all craving more of that right now. Most of us. When I say all, I mean all the people who like Grand Millennial. What's really interesting about Grand Millennial is I think it's overall telling us we don't want the same mass-produced lamp that our neighbor has. We don't want something that's just cookie cutter, that doesn't have a story and a personality. Because really, if AI can design the thing for us, if they can do all of this, isn't personality quintessentially the human thing that we get that AI can't do? And shouldn't our homes have that connection rather than just being something that was squirted out for the correct prompt? That's what Grand Millennial is giving us. I love old homes, for better and for worse. And they come with a lot of baggage, bad electrical, breakers that don't make sense, plumbing issues with lead pipes and whatnot. And there is a soul, there is something of heritage and like old quality, even though sometimes that takes more upkeep, that I feel, I talked about my house, I think it was in the first episode of the podcast, that I call her Nana. There's just something about her. There's a soul here that I love coming home to because it feels more full. It feels more welcoming to me to come home to something that has more of that going on. As I mentioned before, of course, we're all in the same current reality. We're all getting the same input. At the same time, we're experiencing it from our own vantage point. Maybe the vantage point that I'm coming from is still coming from the place of feeling like Grand Millennial is a lot. Like the chaos of it, the 60s sofa element of it is just too much and I don't want to deal with it. It's understandable too that the frenetic pace that has returned post-COVID at a basic level means that our day-to-day pace feels as fast as ever and it feels overwhelming. What that means is some of us want quiet at home. And I'm sure you've heard, if you've been on any of the socials at all, that there's a look out there that's been around for a minute called quiet luxury. And that is, I think, the opposing view, it's the opposing perspective to Grand Millennial is quiet luxury. It's refined, it's more minimalistic, it doesn't have a lot of color going on, usually no pattern either, and it is very much, it does have the individuality because there's layering and there's quality to it. So you have beautiful textures like velvet, you have potentially handmade items, and I think that we again are all desiring to have just nicer stuff because the mass market of people buying is growing older, and at some point we get to say, like, I'm just too old for that cheap thing that I had in college or just after college or when I was first married. At some point we get to say, yeah, I'm going to get a nicer piece because it's going to last longer and I will appreciate the quality that goes into it. I mean, it's similar to the fact that, I don't drink cheap whiskey anymore. I'm a very expensive whiskey drinker. I'm going to get some Lafroig. I'm going to enjoy it. I would rather have one Lafroig than 3 Jack Daniels because I can't. So it's like that with quiet luxury. We're looking for a way to create something that feels like there is ease because the luxury offers a different kind of experience to interact with. Here are a few examples of design styles that are still happening now. I've thrown the net a little bit wide. Some, have been around a while. But what I wanted to do is go through and address the mental kind of perspective, the things that you might be craving if you like this design style. If you find yourself drawn to this design style, you might be craving the following things. Modern Farmhouse. This is something that if you are craving simplicity, ease, family connections, heritage, very, very much on the simplicity and ease. That is Modern Farmhouse look. Boho Bohemian. This is something that if you're craving the exotic, you're craving carefree, freedom, relaxed and joyful, chaotic in a way that feels like you're tapped into something bigger than you, all of that would be a boho sort of a look. Then there's a look like a Nordic look. People also call it hygge, which is spelled H-U-G-G-E. And this was around a little while ago. It's still sticking around, and kind of the specifics change a little bit as far as what the exact trend is at the moment. But the Nordic hygge trend is something that people would be looking to feel more well-being, down to earth, simplicity. They're wanting to delight in the small joys, and it's more form over function. They don't need it to be flashy. They want it to be real. The next one is quiet luxury, which we talked about just a little bit. If you like quiet luxury, you probably are drawn to or are wanting more of these in your life. Refinement, quality, sophistication, quiet and ease, and a less is more approach. You just want to buy one sofa and have it for 10 years, 15 years. You don't want to buy one that you're replacing in 4 because the foam went out. That goes with the luxury. And also the craftsmanship gives a different look for that quiet luxury, of course. Grand Millennial, what you might be looking for: uniqueness, rootedness, a feeling of being accepted and accepting others because you're using pieces that are just what they are and you can't choose them. They just are what you find. There's something in Grand Millennial that's very approachable and warm. This is an inviting look. You invite people into a Grand Millennial space and they're going to feel like they can sit down, have a conversation, and be themselves. That's part of the appeal of the look of Grand Millennial. Maximalism, which, as we said, is a part of Grand Millennial, but to separate that out, what you might be craving if you like the maximalist look that is very much on the rise: expression, freedom, curiosity, boldness, and this sense of being unapologetic. Like, I like that thing, I'm going to pair it with that other thing, it's going to work because I like them both and it's interesting. And I don't need to be confined by some tight, rigid design style. I'm just going to go for all of it at the same time. That's maximalism. So I find that recognizing trends and looking at what they are actually serving for us, what they're giving to us, can help us not be victims to them. What was the fashion victim? I think we're only fashion victims, or we're only interior design victims if we are choosing these things because all the cool kids are doing it. If we choose to decorate our homes, to design our homes, our life, our clothing around something that we really love, that's responding to something that we're craving, then we are not victim to these trends anymore. Then we're using them as tools for ourselves. So, for example, when Modern Farmhouse was the top of the trend list, it helps me to understand when I'm scrolling through all my feeds, oh, Modern Farmhouse is this look. This is why I'm seeing it everywhere, because it's a trend right now. I can identify for myself where Modern Farmhouse fits with my style, where it meshes with my personal style, and where it doesn't. So that when I'm going through the feeds, I can check myself and say, oh, this is Modern Farmhouse again. So I am liking the contrast in the black and white. That's why it's working for me. But I don't really want to do all the other things because for me, I am not going to like them in 6 months. I will be bored with them in 6 months because they're not coming from an intrinsic place in me about why I like them. Incorporating the black and white contrast, that will. That's just me personally. But it helps me as I scroll through to not get convinced that I have to follow it just because I see it everywhere. It helps me to slow down and get clear on what I'm needing more and less of. I like the contrast of black and white. What do I need? More clear contrast. That is so true on so many levels. We could get real existential about it. We're not going to do it right now. So I need more clarity and a little bit more contrast. Or a lot. I need high contrast right now. I like it. It's clear and simple and also dynamic and interesting and exciting to me. What I don't need, the farmhouse aspect. I don't really have any interest in it. It's not me. I have no judgment about it, and I love, love, love designing for it with clients because it's not something I would do in my own home. It's super fun to dive into that world and that hominess that Modern Farmhouse does offer, the way that it offers it. It's really cool. And also when I go to make decisions for myself, being aware of what that is helps me to make those decisions better. So looking at the elements of the trends, breaking it down can be really helpful in allowing you to understand more about what it is that you need more of in your life right now. As I was saying, if what I'm drawn to right now is a lot of color. I mean, I'm loving the neon. I don't know if you're looking at the video. I don't know if you can see my neon green kind of chartreuse little earrings, but I am all about the neon with high contrast black and white. What does that mean? I want some clarity and I want a lot of excitement. And when I'm scrolling through, I can know, hey, if I'm choosing something for myself from my house right now, for the foreseeable future, I want some excitement going on. I don't want soft pastels. They're not what I'm looking for right now because I'm not drawn to them. If I'm wanting less pattern, maybe I want simplicity and calm. If I want more rustic, maybe I need to connect more with nature and go out and find something that grounds me, like yoga, meditation. These cravings can be served by interior design. They certainly can. Is that realistic that you're going to change every time your cravings change, your house is going to get an overhaul? It is not. It's not realistic, and that's not what I'm asking of you. What's interesting is knowing that we're having these cravings can also help us supplement that in all areas of our life, triggered by being aware of design trends. They can be served by helping us get these things we want, can happen through habits, fashion, family and friend connections. All of these are tools we can use to create a life experience that supports health, growth, and contentment. Maybe that means it's time for an overhaul of your living room, and maybe it means it's time to finally change out that dated bathroom tile. On the other hand, it could mean that you start up a book club, that you buy a new pillow to cozy up to while you get down with your Netflix fix. Maybe this is your chance to stop with Netflix and go speed dating because you need more excitement and socialness in your life. All of these can feed you and help you get what you need. Your home is a valuable part of that. And trends can help bring awareness to what you're lacking and what we're lacking as a society. That's not to say, as I said, this is not to say that I'm advocating a full overhaul of your home, your wardrobe, your friends, when that's not needed. There's a lot of room here to get curious about how small changes can be made to serve what's missing for you right now. In your home, here are some smaller ways to shift the energy, feel, and balance of a space without going into full renovation mode. One of the fastest ways is to repaint. Get more color, get less color, clean up the scrapes and dings, and just refresh the backdrop of a room. It will change the whole vibe. It's a lot of work, but very minor considering you are not doing the entire renovation. What else can you do? Get new towels. Whether we're talking about your kitchen or your bathroom, these soft finishes actually add a lot to the overall balance of color and texture. Have you always gone with bright white? Maybe it's time to try something more vibrant. If you're sick of the outdated color that you've had since you moved in, maybe you want to switch to a neutral, classic, luxurious. It'll change the entire vibe, even replacing old towels that are worn and stained from laundry detergent or, my washer, my clothes washer, like ruins things sometimes. And I'm like, well, it's time to just get a new towel. And it needs to happen because that refreshes the entire look of the bathroom. Another idea, change out your pillows. This is like changing the jewelry on an outfit. It can go from workday to date night in a second. Just change out those pillows. Also, if you like the no waste approach, sell your old ones on Facebook Marketplace, give them to somebody you know so that you know they'll be appreciated, so that when you're getting rid of your old ones, you're not just throwing them away. Also, when you're looking to get more, buy them on Marketplace. And look on Etsy. There are people doing great stuff on Etsy with pillows. There are so many options. They are so affordable, and you're supporting small business. Win, win, win. Another thing, small thing to do in your home, get plants. Real or not, greenery adds unspeakable value to a room. It calms the nervous system, and real ones, of course, also help the air quality. So you could consider a plant swap with friends, like the clothing swaps that we all love so much. That potted thing that just doesn't like your kitchen may thrive in your bestie's office. It takes a village, and we can all join together and get some more plants going on and make our spaces pretty. Another idea, move things around. Rethink how you can use what you already have. Maybe your nightstand could work better in the living room, or the artwork that you have in the kitchen would actually really spice up the bathroom. It's like when that hottie at the bar hits on your partner and you remember how sexy they are and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot how good that thing is. If you just move the location, then you might remember how amazing that artwork is, or whatever it is that you're moving. Give it new life, look at it from a new direction, get some new perspective on it, and it might feel brand new again. Of course, there's always the option of something more drastic. There can be a lot of value in scrapping things that aren't working for you and giving yourself the opportunity to reimagine what's possible for a room, or even more than a room in your home. This is a reminder that my online course, Room Revolution, is for exactly this: revolutionizing your daily experience by creating an environment that is responsive to you and will nourish you. Check it out in the show notes or find the link on my website, mandystrait.com. It is a self-guided interior design course that helps you design a room from start to finish, starting with how you want to feel in it, which is exactly what we're talking about with the trends. All of this discussion is coming together to say that trends can be a useful discussion tool, learning tool, growth tool for all of us. They can help us examine and understand ourselves more deeply. And also, if trends are used as a reflection, as an awareness tool, they can be a catalyst and an inspiration for a life that you enjoy, that's responsive to where you are and who you are right now. And then you can leave space for the fact that in 10 years, in 5 years, in 2 years, maybe you won't need the same thing. Hopefully, you will have supported the needs you have now, and in the future, you won't need the same things because you gave them to yourself. Actually needing something else, something different in 2, 5, 10 years is healthy because you have served the needs you had and you are now a new person who has grown and is different. How can that be a negative? Thank you so much for joining me in this discussion about trends. I would love to know how this affects you, how you see this. Is this a different point of view, or have you thought about this before? What trends do you like, and why do you like them? Maybe it's different than the words that I came up with. I would love to hear from you about your thoughts and experiences with trends. Find me on social media and continue the conversation there. Thank you for joining me today. See you next time on Messy Designed Life. I appreciate you listening. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, share it with your friends, all those trendy people, and check out that online course, Room Revolution. All the links are in the show notes and on my website. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring your messy, beautifully designed life.